Guys, we're in for a treat. Strap in, hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you're new, and let's get going. Now, I have to admit a couple things to you guys. First and foremost, I have not given The Last Will and Testament a fair listen yet. It's only been out 5 days as of right now when this video is going down. And so far what I've heard sounds intriguing. I also have never given their last album from 2019, In Cauda Venenum. I've never given that the time of day either. And OPETH is one of those bands where I'm really into a certain part of their catalog, and then I'm not really into the rest. And they're the kind of band, they're not a legacy band for me. And what I mean by that is, like, Iron Maiden's a legacy band for me. Metallica's a legacy band. I will listen to everything Iron Maiden and Metallica do career-wide. Whether I like it or not, I will give it its fair shake. OPETH is a little bit different. I really love what I love, but I don't always give everything a fair shake unless I'm grabbed by it initially. So I still have to kind of check out both of those albums. So The Last Will and Testament and Cauda Venenum, for lack of a better pronunciation, neither of those will be part of this. I'm essentially going to be ranking like 8 or 9 albums here. The first 3 albums, Orchid, Morning Rise, My Arms, Your Hearse, I dislike those albums so much, they're not even going to make the ranking. All right? So, to all you diehard vintage OPETH fans, I apologize, but those 3 albums are not even going to be discussed. Okay, so we're going to start with number 9. It's not a full ranking. It's not a top 10. We're going in with a weird number here. This is based on my relationship to the band and how I process their information. I am going with a 9-album countdown. The first album on the list at number 9 is 2002's Deliverance. Now, Deliverance and Damnation were kind of like sister albums in a way. They were like a light and a dark. They were kind of like opposites, but coming from the same place. So Deliverance was a very heavy album, and it's coming in last here because I'm not moved by much on this album. I mean, there's some good stuff. You've got Wreath and A Fair Judgment, which is decent. Master's Apprentices is my favorite one. And the rest can just kind of go by the wayside as far as I'm concerned. So Deliverance is at number 9. I'm not very impressed with it. At number 8, we're going to do the album Sorceress, which is fairly new. It came out in 2016. And my least favorite part of this album is the production. It sounds very muffled and muted. I don't know if that was on purpose or if that's just the way it is, but that's my least favorite aspect. Other than that, I mean, the songs are good. The Wildflowers is great. Sorceress, Will of the Wisp, Strange Brew is cool. You've also got songs like Era and Chrysalis. I mean, the song titles, the songs, there's a lot of long epics on this. It really is like a tasty album, but the production just ruins it for me. So that is coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 7, we have another relatively new. We have Pale Communion from 2014. And Pale Communion at the time was a very fun listen for me. The Eternal Rains Will Come, Moon Above, Sun Below, Voice of Treason, Cusp of Eternity, River. I mean, there's so many great tracks on here. Quite a few of them are over the 5-minute mark. It's very progressive, probably their most progressive. It's probably their most progressive rock of all the stuff. There's not much metal on this. Yeah, we're going to give it a solid 7. It is what it is. Coming in at number 6, this one's hard to rank for me because I like and dislike it at the same time. 1999's Still Life. As I said in my previous OPETH video where I discussed the different phases of the OPETH career, this album for me is kind of a bridge between the old dark death metal, you know, those first 3 albums that I don't care about, into the newer post-2000, much more produced, much more like crisp and clean, and very much purposeful writing of the 2000s with Ghost Reveries and Watershed. This album, for me, is that bridge between the two. And so you've got a lot of like death metal mentality on this album, but with a slightly better production quality. My favorite song on the album would have to be Face of Melinda. That is one of their best songs, period. Benighted is also very cool. It's a very like kind of acoustic, folky tune. And then Serenity Painted Death takes it home at the end as the most brutal. So Still Life is at number 6. And I love the album cover. There will be an album cover ranking in the future, and that's going to make some high numbers on that. Coming in at number 5, and this will probably piss a lot of people off, but I'm going to go with Heritage. Heritage was actually the album that came out during the time I got into the band. I got into the band in about 2009. This would have been the album that came out right after. And this was the massive departure from that second part of their career where everything was polished and crisp and heavy and guttural, death metal, but progressive at the same time. This was the shift from that into something more laid back, something more unplugged sounding, something more folky and bluesy and jazzy. And I have basically a heavy metal channel here, but I love jazz as well. I've done jazz songs on my Harmonic Analysis Music Theory Mondays, so if you're into jazz and you want to learn about how to analyze that stuff, check out the playlist called Music Theory Mondays. And then there's also a lot of jazz bands I like Chick Corea, I like the Pat Metheny Group. So this was a kind of a nice crossover for me, and it showed maturity and unbelievable amounts of talent for these guys. So Heritage, despite all the people swearing at their screen right now, comes in at number 5.